Hi, everyone. Just let me know if you can see me now. We had some major technical issues because of storms and so on. So I hope you can see me. I'm sending a chat through as well. Hi, can you see me? Okay, great. Hi. Hi, I see Kristen's joined me. Anita. Hi, Anita. Hi, Darlene, Dynastia, Donna. Great. Sorry, guys, about that. I can't control storms. It affected everything here, but we fixed it. We're back online again. And I'm super excited to see you all again. And this is a great chapter that we're going to be talking about tonight because this is like, it's a topic that just comes up all the time. And that is gluten. Is it good? Is it bad? And what should you do about it? But before we start, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, well, we're discussing Think and Eat Yourself Smart. This is part of a whole mental health makeover initiative that we're doing this year. So each month I cover one of my books and we dive into the different chapters of the book. I encourage you to get together in groups, to get together and on your, even if it's on your own, read through the stuff. Join me weekly for these YouTube lives. Prepare the chapters. We tell you each week what chapter we're going to do the following week. And then I go through it and share with you and give you a big picture to help you to get through this information. As you know, I'm a mind specialist. I help you get your mind right so that you can get your brain and your body and your life right. If your mind's right, everything else goes right. Your mind works through your brain, so we have to look after our brains and our bodies. We have to be stewards of our brains and our bodies. We have to be stewards of the earth. Okay, so don't forget, going along with the book is the online program, 63 Days to Think and Eat Yourself Smart. Highly recommend you get this as well. Really helps you take these principles and transform them or transform your life. Apply these principles into the over 63 days. So it's just a really easy way of getting these things going in your life for the rest of your life, okay? You don't stop doing this after the book club. This is a lifestyle. Okay, so if you've missed any of the YouTubes, don't forget that you can go back. They're all recorded, so you can go back and watch them. And then some great news. We have a workbook coming out very soon, and we have a DVD. So in the next couple of months, we will have a workbook that goes along with the book and a DVD to help you get even more depth in this. But in the meantime, you've got the book and the online program. The online program's really nicely broken up into 3 sections: Think, Pray, Eat. Take a little section in the think part. There's some scriptures and things if you want to go through in terms of why we need to steward our brain and our body. And then there's practical tips. So by the end of the 63 days, you work through the book along with these YouTube lives, along with reading the chapters, and you would have this information. Okay, so let's dive into the whole gluten thing. Now, I'm going to be looking off to the side every now and then because it's a huge chapter. There's a lot of detail, and I've got a slideshow that I'm going to be just capturing a few of the bits of information from. For those of you that just joined us now, it's chapter 18 that we're dealing with today and chapter 19. And chapter 18 is to eat gluten or not to eat gluten. That is the question. Okay, so I'm going to just start by reading a little section in the book. The current wheat-gluten debate and the epidemic of gluten intolerance tends to say more about our modern diet fad psychology than what is truly happening in our environments, food supplies, physiology, and biology. By making gluten the root of all dietary evils, we once again step into reductionistic thinking. Remember, I've spoken about this a lot, this whole thing of reductionistic thinking, breaking things down into little bits, just looking at one thing and thinking this is the root of all evil. Food is complex, our bodies are complex, and everything works together. So you can't just say one thing is the cause of something. So I'm going to tell you some super interesting stuff about gluten and what is the reality. Now, the reason I dedicated a whole chapter in this book is because I can't tell you how many people ask me about gluten and gluten intolerance and their gluten. Everyone's gluten-free, gluten-free, gluten-free. What does that mean? Okay, so first thing, making gluten the root of all evil is a reductionistic philosophy, okay? This is one chemical ingredient, okay? Reductionism is when you take one ingredient and you make that the focus of everything. Now, the truth behind gluten is the fact that the initial research was done by a professor at Monash. I just want to get my next slide out. By Professor Peter Gibson at Monash University. And he did research in 2011. And his research started the whole gluten movement. Okay, it was a big part of the whole gluten-free movement. And it basically is now a current industry that is estimated to be at around about somewhere around 15 to 20 billion. In 2016, the gluten-free industry was at 16 billion, more or less. So this is like crazy. It is a huge money-making industry. Are people really gluten intolerant? What is gluten in the first place? Okay, so what we see is that you get something called celiac disease, and only a very small percentage of the population have celiac disease. And celiac disease is a genuine intolerance of gluten. Okay, really can't tolerate it. You can determine if you are gluten intolerant by doing a special blood test that determines if you have celiac disease. If you don't have celiac disease, then it is not the gluten that you are not tolerating. What it is, most likely, is a combination of factors that are part of the modern American diet, the MAD diet, that is processed, industrialized, food-like products. If you are eating real food versus this industrialized food, the chances of you having a gluten intolerance are very small. This research done by Professor Gibson at Monash University spurned an industry, as I've said, that's made a fortune. But the fact of the matter is that he himself, this brilliant scientist, was not happy with his results. So what he did was he went back and he redid his research, thinking that something is wrong. Because currently at the moment, 1 in 5 people are self-diagnosing themselves to have an intolerance to gluten. But is that correct? No. So he went back, he redid his research, okay? Oopsie, here, I've got it over here. He redid his research and he controlled for a whole lot of different factors. So what he controlled for is that he wasn't happy with his results, as I said, so he redid them and he removed all potential dietary triggers. So he removed preservatives like benzoates, propionates, sulfites, nitrates, poorly absorbed short-chain carbohydrates called FODMAPs. So he redid his research, redesigned it, removed all potential food intolerances, and he came to the opposite conclusion. He could find no specific response to gluten, and he believed that it was partly the nocebo effect. Nocebo is the negative mindset that we develop towards something, then it influences how our body responds. So the guy who actually said that people can get gluten intolerance redid his research, removed other variables, redesigned it, and he found it's not actually true. But already the industry had been birthed. A huge money-making industry had been birthed. So they didn't want to hear his research. So the gluten-free industry has continued. So what do? Well, if you suspect that you have a gluten-free, you have a gluten intolerance, the first thing you should do is go and get a blood test and test for celiac disease. That's the real thing, okay? Then if you find that you do not have celiac disease, which is a very small percentage of the population who are allergic to gluten, then you need to look at your diet as a whole. You need to look at how many modern American MAD processed food-like things are in your diet or that are still in your diet. Because I believe if you're watching this and you've got this far with me, you've started changing your diet. So if you're still finding that you have a gluten intolerance, then you need to start a process of eliminating certain things from your diet in order to work that out. And I do talk about that in this book. You see, one of the big things about eating real food mindfully is that as you transition out of modern American diet eating and into clean eating, your body cleans up. But it takes a bit of time. So you may be transitioning over. You may have stopped all that all the modern American diet processed food, and a lot of the gluten-free stuff are terrible food, like processed junk food. So it's not the gluten that's taking out the gluten that's helping. It's all the junk that's added that's going to create a bunch of other problems. So essentially, you may have done all of this. You may have taken all the MAD stuff out of your diet, but it does take cycles of 21 days, like it takes 63 days to form a new thought, to form a new habit, 21 days to grow the thought, and 3 cycles of 21 to create it into a habit. That 63-day principle of time applies to your body cleaning up as well. So therefore, as you are cleaning up your diet, your body's healing. So as you take one bad thing after another out of your diet, it may take a few weeks, even a few months before all that junk is cleaned out of your body. Then your body's clean and you're eating a clean diet, or as clean as you can get it, because you can't control pollutants in your environment and so on. So once your body's clean, though, it's much better at reading itself and much better at dealing with things. And that is a very good time at when you can really start identifying if you what to take out of your diet that's still causing gluten type symptoms, the bloating and discomfort and the intolerance type symptoms that you potentially have been experiencing and that you thought were from gluten. So what this Professor Gibson from Monash University has called for, or saying that, is that we need a lot more research to understand what they call NCGS, which is basically the acronym for a gluten sensitivity. So non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So you have celiac disease, which is a genuine allergy to gluten, and then you have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And he is questioning whether as many people have gluten sensitivity as what is currently out there. Like 1 in 5 people are claiming to have this. And it's really come from what he proposes in his research and a lot of other researchers is that it's very much a marketing thing. It's very much a money-making marketing thing to get you guys to eat these gluten-free products and make money out of you. But are you really allergic to the gluten? So what is gluten? Gluten is the general name for a protein. It's a protein and it's found in various different types of wheat. So I'm going to read them to you. Things like durum wheat, emmer wheat, kamut, spelt, farina, farro, coarsan wheat, einkorn, rye, barley. There's so many different types of wheat. So it's a protein found in wheat, okay? Gluten helps food maintain their shape. They also make things kind of chewy. Gluten is basically the protein that you find inside what we call the endosperm. Okay, the endosperm is a tissue that's produced in seeds, in the wheat seeds that are ground to make flour, and it makes the flour starchy. So gluten does great stuff. Gluten is good. It's not bad. Gluten nourishes the plant embryos during germination and later affects the elasticity of the dough. So it actually, if you think it nourishes the plant, gluten is a nourishing protein. It's good. It's only designed to do good things in the plant. The problem is, what are we doing to the gluten? How are we damaging it? So ancient grains are a very good source of things like vitamin B and E and potassium and magnesium and iron and zinc. So if you stop eating wheat, grains and things completely, or you control them because you think you have a gluten intolerance, well, that's not always such a good idea. As I keep on stressing, you need to do the blood test. You need to get your body clean and healthy. And then you need to start reintroducing gluten in a form of healthy, ancient grains that are organic and real and farm to table and not filled with all this junk, which is because all the junk is really what you probably are reacting to, not the gluten. Once you've ruled out the definite 2 blood tests if you have celiac disease. So now let's move a little bit over to the importance of wheat and the different types of wheat. Now, I've spoken quite a few times about the fact that we have diversity is natural and normal in the first part of this book. And diversity means lots of different foodstuffs. God has given us lots of different foodstuffs. These foodstuffs are lots of different diverse types. So for wheat, for example, when we talk about wheat, there's 30,000 different types of wheat. But you don't see 30,000 different types of wheat in your stores. Basically, most bready products and cakey and cookie products are made from a GMO hybrid version of a dwarf type wheat. So they've kind of taken all this diversity, turned it into monoculture 1, taken a GMO version, and most of the food-like products that contain wheat are made from this. And that's not a good thing. We've destroyed a natural process by taking diversity down to monoculture, turning it into GMO, and then making wheat products out of that. That is what most people are reacting to, not to the gluten. They're reacting to that. So let's look at basically how wheat is broken up. If you take a stalk of wheat, if you think of a stalk of wheat of any of the few that I listed a moment ago, they have got 3 layers. Okay, so you have your outer layer, your middle layer, and your inner layer. Your outer layer is the bran layer, and that's the hard outer layer. It's basically the fiber that slows digestion. So we need that outer layer. It's a fiber that slows digestion. You'll see my point in a minute. Then you get, when digestion is slowed, it controls your blood sugar. You don't want your blood sugar to jump around all over the place. And the outer bran layer slows digestion, therefore helping to control your blood sugar. Okay. It also helps to get rid of toxins and to prevent things like constipation. So it keeps your GI, your gut, your gastrointestinal processes working like they should, your GI tract working like it should. So that's just a few, multiple reasons why the external part of wheat needs to be maintained. You've got to keep it. Okay. So then you get your endosperm, which is your middle layer. Okay. And your endosperm is the starchy layer that contains the gluten and the proteins. Okay. So it's very important. It's for nourishment. Okay, then you get your germ layer, which is the inner layer, and that's loaded with wheat germ oil, and it's loaded with fatty acids, and it's capable of actually growing the new plant. So we've got each layer doing something important. I know this sounds like a biology lesson, but what they do with wheat is that they strip the outer layer, and they strip the middle layer, and they keep the inner starchy layer. So they've taken out the layer that you need for digestion, for detoxing, for keeping your blood sugar under control. They've taken out the inner layer, which is nutritional, which is supplying the actual germ oil and fatty acids that are bringing life. They remove those. And so they're removing key essential elements of the wheat. And then what they do is they basically leave the inner part, and it goes through a process, a whole long and I explain it in the book, but basically it's crushed and it's heated and chemicals are added. So by the time they have this weird paste stuff that tastes like nothing and looks like nothing, they have to add a bunch of chemicals and stuff to make it into what you see in the supermarkets. So that is not normal. That is a food-like product, and that is what we are going to react to. Okay, that's what damages your brain. You do not get the vitamins and everything from that. Okay, so they do this to process for a longer shelf life. So when you have something that's lasting on your shelves for a really long time, that is not good food. The wheat germ oil literally will make it rot immediately. We get our ancient grain organic breads from a bakery close by us, and whenever we are in different parts of the world, we always find healthy organic breads, and you can't keep them for longer than a day because they go stale, and that's what they should do, because when wheat germ is kept inside the wheat to make the bread, and the bread is milled, which is crushed instead of heated and put through these rollers, then it's going to rot quicker, which means it's good quality. So something that lasts long is not good quality. So these are basic principles that I think you probably know. I go into them in a lot of depth in the book to help you and in the online program. Okay, so don't forget there's tons of chemicals added with this process too of when they make wheat-like products. They are adding chemicals to the earth, the soil, the seeds. When they are stripping them of all the different parts, they add more chemicals. When they are putting them through the rollers, when they're making up the paste, there's just chemicals added at every process. So there's just nothing good left about this. It's destroyed food. So that cannot be any good for you. So, I mean, this is like heavy stuff to talk about, but we need to be much more realistic about what we're putting inside of ourselves. So, I mean, there's one chemical, I want to read this out to you from my book. Preservatives and additives have serious side effects. I mean, we all know that by this stage. There's so much information out there, but there's one preservative that's kind of interesting. Listen to this. It's got a weird name. Bonamide. It's a synthetic chemical that's used to manufacture, listen to this, rubber and plastic. It is used in the United States as a food additive. It's called E927. It's used to bleach flour and condition flour for industrial bread. The same chemical may cause respiratory problems such as asthma and allergies in the workers who come into contact with. The WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends that people should avoid E927, which is the chemical that is basically used to manufacture rubber and plastic that is added to bleach flour in the United States, not in Europe, in the United States. And the WHO recommends not to use it, but the United States uses it, okay, to bleach flour. And basically this chemical can cause all kinds of problems. The WHO, actually this is a statement, they avoid this. They recommend that people should avoid this chemical as far as possible since the risk of ingesting it is largely unknown. It's causing problems, but the risk is largely unknown. If you don't know what that thing is doing in your body, and the little bit we do know is bad for you, why would you put it in your body? This is what I'm trying to teach you throughout this book. I'm going into the specifics of proteins and carbs and gluten and all these different things. But this is why you have to be mindful. You need knowledge. Knowledge is power. What are you putting in your body? Do you want to put a chemical in your body that they use in the manufacturing of rubber and plastic, and that is actually already been seen to cause major health issues, and that we largely don't even know what the risk, the rest of the risks are largely unknown? Do you want that in your body? I know I don't. This is why you have to think and eat yourself smart. Okay, so we need to, I think that basically what I want to talk about, there's a couple more things about wheat and gluten. Tissue damage occurs from the modern American diet. When we eat these bread-like products with all this, the outer and middle and inner layer stripped and going through all these chemicals and these processes and just destroying the gluten and all this kind of thing. When we do this, we are damaging tissue in our brain and our body. This is a vital thing. I'm reading from the book now. I'm reading from sections of chapter 18, to eat gluten or not to eat gluten. I'm almost finished with this section. Basically, the tissue, we get tissue damage in our brain. It's a whole complicated process. And basically, the message is sent to the brain. When you consume this, the message is sent to the brain that there's something dangerous in your body and there's something going on in your body. So we're getting these messages. So basically, the message is that there's tissue damage. And this signal that there's damage is activating a response in your body. So your body is going into stress as you are eating this food, which will, besides the fact that it's causing physical damage, it's causing brain damage as well. Okay, so then let's move over to chapter 19. In chapter 19, there's lots more there. Definitely read, study this chapter. And as I said, the workbook and DVD will be coming out in a couple of months' time. In the meantime, you've got the workbook, the online, and you've got these YouTube videos. Chapter 19, sleep in, then move it. So now we're going to talk a little bit about sleep and exercise. We all know we have to sleep. We all know we have to do exercise. I've got some great points in this book that I'm going to talk about now. And I want to give you an overall picture. People ask me so often, how long should I sleep for? And is there a set pattern? And if you look at the research, there's a lot of research that's very easily accessible that tells you that obviously you need to sleep for as much as you possibly can. But in terms of the average seems to be about 6 to 8 hours. Then we see lots of information about if you don't sleep, how it damages your brain and your body. Now, all of this is true, but there's a few things that we need to just bear in mind. What happens, number one, when you sleep? Number one, when you sleep, your brain, your body physically regenerate, and your mind mentally regenerates. We have this non-physical, physical part that I've explained a lot in my books, and I explain it very clearly in here as well. But essentially, basically, we are physically and mentally regenerating when we sleep. It's when our housekeeping is done. So when we don't sleep and we don't have this regeneration, this is going to be a problem. There's different stages of sleep, and we cycle through these stages, and we need to be in them for a certain amount of time. For example, we need to get into REM sleep where we dream in order to process memories and do this housekeeping. So there's housekeeping going on physically and mentally. So you will be affected by lack of sleep. There's research showing that if you don't sleep enough, you're going to get hungry quicker. There's a neurohormone called ghrelin that controls your hunger levels. It doesn't work properly when you haven't slept, so that increases your hunger levels. You eat too much, you increase your cortisol levels, you increase your adrenaline levels, you go into toxic stress. This causes you to eat too much, and even if you don't eat too much, what you do eat is not being digested properly. So the lack of sleep upsets your balance in your brain and your body. Now you're all thinking, oh no, this is terrible because maybe you're battling with sleeping problems. And this is not a whole thing about, is so much about sleep, and I will be doing a podcast. But in this book, the way I address sleep is that you do need to sleep. It's logical. It does all this great stuff. But the biggest thing about sleep, and here's the real key, if you panic about not sleeping, you will make it worse. So if you are having a night where you can't sleep, it is super important that you calm down and relax about it. Sit up in bed. Do not let that adrenaline shoot through you. Sit up in bed and do something until you fall asleep. If you don't sleep the whole night, just stay calm, stay relaxed. Celebrate the fact that you spent the night either relaxing, which is great, watching a great movie, reading my book and studying how to eat well, getting knowledge, doing some work. Use the time and do it until you start dozing off. Okay, if you don't get it, maybe you want to get out of bed. I prefer to stay in bed when I have nights where I can't sleep, and I basically will work in bed. My husband's very patient about the light going on a little bit, or else I work on my phone and make sure that I've got that screen up, that you don't have the blue light, and I control it. I move between different activities. I'll listen to a podcast. I mean, that's a great way. Close your eyes, listen to my podcast. I got fantastic podcasts to help you. So listen to my podcast. The big thing is stay calm. As you stay calm, your body will not then have as extreme damage. You can literally control the damage, and you will start getting into a pattern of sleep. It's also very individualized for people. What you may need 8, I may need 10, you may need 6. The average seems to be 6 to 8 hours of sleep, but panicking about it is going to make it worse. The way you eat will affect your sleep. The modern American diet will mess up your sleep. A lot of medications will mess up your sleep. So you've got to consider all the factors. Once again, a whole picture, not a reductionistic thing, not looking for one thing. You've got to create a whole pattern. There's lots of great advice about listening to different sounds and making sure you don't go on your phone for 2 hours before, etc., etc. And there's a lot of that is great advice. If going on your phone keeps you awake, like my one daughter, she finds if she can't sleep and she goes on her phone, it really keeps her awake. So she rather turns on the light and reads a physical book. With me, I can go on my phone and read a book as long as I've got that, as I said, that yellow light, change my light on my phone. I will work on my phone, and when I start feeling dozy but not quite sleepy yet, I'll listen to a podcast. And that's in the dark. And that's when I fall asleep. So don't hassle about it. Don't get anxious about it, but you do need to sleep. And you will sleep. We all sleep. But we have to get the biggest disturbance of sleep. Here's another key, is your mind. So if you worked up and panicking and worrying, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and it's going to stop your sleeping pattern. And if you're very busy, if you haven't taken lots of breaks, if you didn't listen to last month's Bookclub Think, Learn, Succeed, I discussed about the importance of the thinker moment and calming your mind down. I strongly recommend you get that book, and I strongly recommend that you get yourself trained in a thinker mindset approach so that you understand how to calm your mind down before you go to bed. Exercise is logical, guys. We know we've got to exercise. It moves the blood through your brain and your body, and the blood, as it enters into the cells, takes out the toxins, which you have to. If you don't take out the toxins, they're going to accumulate and cause damage to your cells in your brain and body, and also they get the nutrients to your body. So by increasing exercise, and there's so much advice on what to do, I'm not going to give you all that advice. You can find it super easy. Find what works for your body. It's individual for everybody. Our whole family, 6 of us, all have different exercise routines. We've all found what works for us. So, I do my workout in a sauna, in an infrared sauna, and I do a work, and that works. And I also walk a lot. I also, if there's stairs, I run upstairs. I don't park close to places I walk. I always look for the opportunity to move and to do bursts of activity. So I've built exercise into my life as a routine. Just a bit of a brain point on exercise, because there's so much great exercise out there. You need exercise also to make your digestive system work well. All the different parts of your digestive system, peristalsis, which is your gut moving and pushing the food through and getting rid of the waste products, etc. The release of hormones from the pancreas, the release of the gallbladder working properly, everything working together is very dependent on exercise. So it's very important for digestive system effectiveness. Couple of things in your brain. Your brain releases various different neurohormones, and there's a couple that are very important for good cognition, memory building, learning. There's all the neurotransmitters are, but there's a couple that really respond very, very well to exercise, and they're vital to neuroplasticity and learning. And those are things like BDNF, VGF. They're in the book here, I explain them. And when you are doing exercise, you're releasing lots of those into your brain to increase the clarity of your thinking. Okay, so that's it for today. Next week, we're starting on section 3, which are the 12 tips. It's the beat it section. It's the 12 tips to thinking and eating yourself smart. So I take all the principles I've been teaching you in sections 1 and 2, admit there's a problem with our dysfunctional food system. The second part, quit, which deals with all the mindset and TV and schedules and how memories are formed and how our thoughts influence our eating, and there's gluten and proteins and all these things and sugars. And this last section is 12 tips to take all these things together into sort of like a way of helping you apply all these. So 12 tips to help you apply all these principles. We'll be discussing those next week. And then we will announce also, once we've finished with this book club, obviously very soon we'll be announcing next month's book club as part of the Mental Health Initiative. I also remind you of my Mental Health Summit in December, the 6th and the 7th of December in Dallas. This is an amazing Mental Health Summit. It is growing. We had over 1,100 people there last year. We are going to be sold out super soon. We're going to probably have to get a second room because it's becoming super popular. I teach you about mental health, the truth about mental health, how to get to the root of why you are feeling anxious and depressed and angst and on edge and psychotic breaks, and how those are actually a normal part of life, and how to embrace those to change how you function, and how to recognize that you're not ill, that it's a normal human condition when you experience these things, and how to manage them. And we're going to talk more about food and mental health and exercise and mental health. I've got my team of doctors that I do research with who will be speaking there, and some great, very, very influential people in this world of mental health also speaking at the conference. It's going to be amazing. Don't miss this conference. You'll get help for yourself, for your teens, for your community. You will learn about how brilliant your mind is and how you can manage your mental health. If your mind's not right, nothing else in your life will go right. Get your mind right, get your life right. And then also, last thing, talking about mental health, please partner with me on my research. This next clinical trial starts next Friday, the 31st of May, and I am so excited about this. I am working with a team of neuroscientists, neurosurgeons, neurologists. We are working on looking at non-drug interventions for mental health, refining them, pulling them together, and making them accessible and affordable to the public. We are working very hard to show you that when you use your mind right, you can change how you function, and you can improve your mental and physical health and your brain health. But research is very expensive, and even the smallest amount will help. I ask you to go to our site. You'll see in the show notes, drleafresearch.com. The conference is drleafconference.com, so it's super easy. My webpage, drleaf.com, research, drleafresearch.com, conference, drleafconference.com. Go sign up for the conference. Go read the research. Make a donation. Help me help you and your loved ones make mental health accessible and affordable to everyone, because this is our right to be able to learn how to manage our mind. We have to fight a system that is destroying our minds with the food that we are given and with the advice we are given on mental health. So help me help you. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you all next week. And thanks for your patience with as I said, I can't control what's going on out there with the lightning, but we got it going and we got things working, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye, everyone.